everyone, this is Nikki Rowland and today I am guest designing for Coco from the Studio using the absolutely amazingly fabulous Happy Days collection, which is full of bright colours and rainbow prints and all the wonderful things. So I've decided today to make a mini album, and I decided to make it in the shape of a rainbow. I was inspired, I chose the rainbow icon because I was inspired by the icons in the collection. Who doesn't love a rainbow? I love a rainbow and I love all the colours. So it was an ideal thing to do. So you can see what I'm doing there. I made myself a template. Now I hand drew that. I tend to mostly make my mini albums by hand rather than use cut files. Just because often I'm scrapbooking while I'm away from my desk, I'm away, at a retreat or something like that, and I don't necessarily have cut files to hand. I also quite often am a bit lazy, and it's more effort to fire up my computer, find a suitable cut file, try to persuade my Silhouette to actually cut something, and quite often I end up just finding it easier and quicker to just do it by hand, and I quite like it. I quite like the imperfections of a mini album that has been drawn by me and made by hand. So I made myself a template, cut it out, drew around it, old-fashioned, and then I used the the A5 paper stack to cut out the different layers of the rainbow. And you saw how I did that. They are literally stacked on top of each other. They are not, it's not like all pieced together. It's literally layered on top of each other. And then I've distressed the edges of all of the layers, and I have stuck them together. Then I have stuck them onto a piece of white card just to give it an outline. I do like a white border. The clouds, again, I made myself a hand-drew templates, cut them out, and used those. And I used, I cut them out of one of the whiter papers, the one with a white background and ditsy little white coloured hearts all over it. And I cut those out, distressed the edges, stuck them onto a piece of white card, sewed around the edges of that to give a pink outline. So I've used thick embroidery floss at 6 strands to do that chunky stitching, and I've done that. I've done 4 clouds, 2 for the front and 2 for the back of the album, and I'm sewing around the front of the front cover of the album as well, around the rainbow. Actually, I do it on both. I think I initially thought that I would just do one, but as I had stitched all the clouds, I thought that I should probably do both rainbows, yeah, that's what I did. So there you go. I'm pretty much finished that first one. You can see that I've stitched it in place, and I'm just going to cut that out now that I've done it. And I've already cut out the other rainbow, but I'm going to go back and add stitching along there as well. I think I do that off screen, off camera. But they are going to form the front and back of my box, and the box itself is going to hold a little mini album. So yeah, it's all coming together quite well. I'm just attaching my clouds. Now I wasn't quite sure how whether my box would stand up. I've arranged the clouds. I made the clouds so that they should be not flat at the bottom, but are equal. I don't know what they're called, the puffs, the curves are, fairly level, so that in theory it should support the weight of the box. Definitely supports the weight of the box. Not too sure about it supporting the weight of the mini album as well. So when it's in it, it's they're getting a little bit squished, the bottoms of my clouds, but they're okay. It does stand up. So I'm just adding my clouds. There we go. You can see how I'm doing that there with foam pads. Then I'm going to do the same with the other side. And then I have, I say, a front and a back of my box. And then I have to make the middle part of the box. These are quite often my favourite types of mini album to make. You have lots of scope. I've got one in the shape of a dinosaur, I've got one in the shape of a lion, I've got one in the shape of a pumpkin, I've got one in the shape of a house. So you have some really, and now I have one in the shape of a rainbow. So you have lots of scope, I think, with a mini album like this. And then the mini album itself inside can be a standard size. It doesn't have to be the shape of the box necessarily. It can just be like a normal square or rectangular type booklet if you want. So it gives you I've got one in the shape of a beach house as well, by the way. I'm just looking at my display. So it just it gives you lots of scope. You can have a rainbow mini album front cover, but the album itself doesn't necessarily have to be in the shape of a rainbow, although this one kind of is. It's an arch shape, it doesn't have the clouds on it. Okay, so now I'm trying to make the front of the box. So what I've done there is I've just used my my front and back covers to draw a template onto some yellow cardstock. So I've just grabbed a sheet of yellow cardstock and I drew around the top. I then made myself a base. I think it's about 1.5 inches thick, I think. Those will sit inside the two front covers like that. You can see there. So that's my box is forming, is starting to form shape. Then I need some sides on this box. And I have tried in the past to make those boxes, you know, where you make, what are they called? I think they're called a net, where you open out your 3D box and you cut it out like that, and then you have little tabs and you stick it all together. Does that make sense? Well, I have tried that in the past and I have limited success, mainly because the adhesive that I use isn't that great. I use ATG gun. I love it. It's absolutely amazing, but it is not overly permanent. It can be pretty repositionable. So therefore, I find anything with a lot of stress on it, it won't hold. And I should just buy myself some red line tape or something like that. But even when I used to use that, I never found that it was that great. Anything with a lot of stress on it, I just find doesn't hold. So therefore, I tend to sew things together if I need to, really need them to hold, or I make them like this so that the stress, the parts with the major stress on them is limited. So that's what I've done here. So I've made an insert to go inside the box effectively, and it's just one long strip of cardstock which I've scored and folded round and made into a rectangular shape, and then I've just stuck that inside the box. So super easy. It is in two pieces, and there's a gap, but that it works for me, works fine, absolutely no problem at all. So now I've made the box itself, it's pretty much done. I'm now going to make my mini album. So again, I have made myself a template, and I just did it out of white card. I made it smaller than the size of the box, and it's just an arch shape, as you can see there. And then I used the template, drew around all the different papers on the A5 paper, and cut a load of those out, individual pages, and then stuck them all together back to back. So this works really well because the A5 paper stack are single-sided rather than double-sided. So therefore, I feel that I'm not wasting my pattern papers by sticking them back to back. So this works super well. Now, let me just explain that what I'm trying to do here is create an album where the album will pull out of the box and sit on the top and like fan open, like you can see there. Now at the moment it's worked really, really well and it's sitting there quite nicely. However, as time progressed, it kept just falling to the side and not working very well. Basically, the top of the album really needs to be flat for that method to work, but it really, really didn't work here. So to the point where I couldn't persevere and make it work. So in the end, it was only attached with a piece of ribbon. So I just cut off that piece of ribbon, and the album itself just will come out of the box completely and be totally separate from the box, instead of rising up, being attached and sitting on top of the box. So that I'll have to do that. I've never done one of those before, but I love the theory and the method, but it just didn't work because the top of my box was curved, and therefore my album kept falling to the side. So it would have worked if the top of my box was flat, but I will have to leave that design for another day. And on this occasion, I have got an album which is completely separate to the box itself. I say right now it's attached, but at some point I snip that piece of ribbon and give up on that basis because I kept picking it out and sitting it on the top and it kept falling off. It kind of works. It's working really well there, but believe me, it didn't. It stopped working. I keep playing with it and making sure it works. Also, the weight and heaviness of when the mini album is decorated, I figured would cause even more problems. So I'm glad that I did that. Right, okay, moving on to decorating the front of the box itself. Obviously, the rainbow is gorgeous as it is, but I just felt that it needed some embellishment too. So I'm just adding a few little bits and pieces. So I've got a flower at the top there and some leaves that I'm just sticking in place. Down on the left side, I'm going to add a fussy cut butterfly. I've got a couple of pieces of floral ephemera and a leaf that's just going in there. So just creating little clusters here and there. I'm going to put the word hello in the middle. Now, at the time of making this album, I actually made this about 4 weeks ago. And at the time of making it, I hadn't really decided what photos were going to go in. I hadn't made it for a particular purpose. I had toyed with the idea of putting some beach photos in from a recent holiday because the colours are so bright and versatile, they could be used to anything. It doesn't really matter. I don't have rainbow photos, for example. It could be just any kind of holiday photos would work well. So that's what I had initially pulled out. I'd pulled out some beach photos. I'd actually even stuck one in. So therefore the front of the word, the word on the front of the box doesn't really matter. The word hello worked quite well. But what happened in between making the box and then decorating the album 4 weeks later was that we ran in a rainbow run, a sponsored rainbow run at my school. I had some amazing photos from there, and it was so perfect because it was a rainbow run. I don't know why I didn't think of this when I was making the album, because I knew I was running in the race. I knew that was happening, but for some reason it didn't cross my mind. I do not tend to think of future photo opportunities. I tend to think of only photos I've already taken, so that's probably why. Anyway, perfect photos. So I kind of, in between making this and decorating the album itself, I've moved on to a completely different set of photos. So if I'd made this with that in mind, I would have had best ever on the front because it was a really amazing day. Anyway, we've skipped forward to 4 weeks later, literally I left the box and the album undecorated until now. And this is a couple of weeks after the rainbow run took place. And therefore I'm making sure that all my photos, of which I've got about 40, are going to fit inside this album. I have to think hard about how I'm going to achieve that because it's a lot of photos. And I also wanted to incorporate the medal and the ribbons from the run itself. So the medal is a wood veneer wooden medal, and we had 3 different types of ribbons. Obviously each medal had its own ribbon, but I pinched one of each colour because I'm a scrapbooker, therefore I wanted to incorporate the ribbons and the medal into the album because having a little momentum like that is, I think, really important. And that's what I feel bring mini albums alive, is if you have really amazing memories in them and you tailor your albums to your photos. Not everyone works like that, and that's fine. Lots of people make mini albums and add photos later. Generally, I don't do that. I normally make my mini albums to my photos. But of course, this time I started off without the end subject in mind, which is unusual for me. I don't normally do that. Right, okay, so I've moved on a little bit. I've managed to sew my medals and my ribbons in place. Underneath my medal, I had some damage from where I had got a photo stuck already, but I had to remove it. Therefore, I need to figure out how to cover that up. So I'm going to add a flower there, plus I'm going to add some journaling strips there as well. Right now, you can see that I'm going through the album trying to figure out, I also forgot to mention I added a shaker pocket. I did that off camera, obviously, because it was sewing. I chain stitched as well around the edge of the album and added some sequins in there. So I forgot to mention that, but you'll see it better in the flip through video in just a moment. But yeah, what I'm doing right now is I'm just going through my photos, going through the album and trying to work out how I'm going to fit 40 photos in this tiny album, and what I'm going to make, how I'm going to make each page interactive. It's not a rule that every page has to be interactive, but it kind of needs to be in order to fit in so many photos. So I was just going through now, roughly figuring out the order of my photos and how I'm going to fit those in and how they're going to look inside the album. So this takes a bit of planning. I don't normally do this on camera because I could be faffing around with this for ages, but I'm just showing you a little bit of my process. And then I will go away and decorate the whole thing off camera because otherwise this video would be about 3 days long. So there we go. I'm about to switch over to the flip through of the album itself. And I hope that you really enjoy seeing the final result. I'm absolutely delighted with it and just great fun. Lots of interactive parts and all of my photos managed to make it in. here is a flip through of my Rainbow Run mini album that's in the shape of a rainbow. So it is a little 3D box, as you can see. It stands up as well. You can't see that so well on video. There you go, it stands up. And then inside the box is an album itself. So there we are. That's the two pieces together. Okay, and then we'll put that to one side. And then here I've used very thick ribbon, and I've used 3 types, and that is because these ribbons were the ribbons that came with the medals at the Rainbow Run. So there we go, that is the medal from the Rainbow Run, and underneath I have some journaling strips that just gives the basic details, and then we flip through the album itself. Okay, I'm going to go down a little bit so it's not so zoomed in. All right, so I have 3 photos. This one flips up, and then we have the 3 photos on here, but they all have little fold outs. And then the good times chipboard title, then fun on there, that's a fussy cut word. And then here we have a shaker pocket, but on here we have a little ball chain, and that has 11 photos on there as well. So just a really easy way to put in loads of photos and just tuck behind that, which is stuck on 2 sides. Then this one's just a decorative page, and then this one here flips open. Then this one is just nothing interactive on that one. Some information up there on one of the little journaling cards from the A5 paper stack. And then here, this is just a decorative page. Then up here, a pocket, and I've got some photos, whoops, inside the pocket, and that one's in a frame. There we go. So they're all just they've just got pattern paper on the back, but I could have written on them as well, which I might do at some point where I want to add some more details. Then this page here, 3 photos, but this one flips open. Then up here, one of those fabulous journaling cards, mini ones from the A5 paper stack again. And here, final page, just the last couple of photos, and another chipboard title and the word days from the ephemera. So there we go. And then on the back, little back page there, just some flowers, it's little things. So yeah, there we go. That is a flip through of the album. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed seeing that flip through of the finished album, and here are a few close-ups of it. There's loads of them, so I'll just keep chatting while this happens. But yeah, I really loved making the album. The colours are so easy to work with. It's great fun. I love making my albums interactive. You can see those little flip-up pages there. There is my shaker and the little ball chain of photos behind, another flip up there, and then some of the pages are just decorative, some of them have pockets, and yeah, there we go. That is the album complete. So I really hope that you enjoyed seeing that. I loved making it. I had a great time making it. Thank you so very much to Coco Vanilla Studio for having me as a guest designer. Thank you so much, everyone. That was Nikki Rowland for Coco Vanilla Studio, guest designing using Happy Days.